Welcome to the Batman Cave podcast. I am your host, Scott Johnson, aka the Batman, and this is my man cave. Today we're here to talk about stuff that interests most guys, from video games, guns, shooting, movies, products, and more. So thanks for stopping by to hang out. Today's podcast, we're going to be talking with my friend, Mr. Jason High, the Low Man. We will be reviewing both the new movie trailer for The Dark Tower, movie that's supposed to come out later, and then, of course, we're going to talk about the popular TV show on AMC, Into the Badlands. But first of all, welcome, Mr. Low Man.
Oh, thanks, man. I'm excited.
Yeah?
Dark Tower. Yes.
You are, huh?
Very much so.
Well, I'm glad you are. At least there's somebody excited for this movie.
Yeah.
So,
Last I checked, after day one, 7.5 million views. So I think there's more than just me.
well, you and all the people who love to see cats play pianos and stuff, dude. Nice job. Yeah, that's good. You're right there in good company. So, well, let's just go ahead and jump into this thing. For those of you who are stopping by here, Low Man, you can kind of tell us a little bit about your love affair with this story in the book, if you'd like.
Oh man, yeah, I love it. Been reading The Dark Tower from Stephen King since, oh gosh, middle school probably, which that's a long time ago. Stephen King started writing The Dark Tower when he was in college. It was his first, kind of one of his first books, basically. So he's been writing this for years, and The Dark Tower is pretty much in every book he writes. So there is something that is related to The Dark Tower and the gunslinger Roland. So, yeah, I'm stoked for the movie. I can't wait.
Well, and this is something that you and we've read books at the same time and gone through a couple different series type of stuff before, and you're a much bigger reader than I am. But this is one of those books that you asked me to read, since it's obviously, one of the foundational books of, your reading experience, and it's one of your big loves. So I have read the book as well. I will say that I am not as huge of a fan of the book as you are, and that's fine. But after reading the book and watching the long-awaited trailer here, so I think you and I'm not sure we have complete conflicting views of the trailer, but as we've talked about, I have some concerns about it. First of all, what were your initial thoughts when you saw the trailer? What did you think? And at the, I'm sure you've watched it a couple times, right?
Yes, multiple times.
3 million out of the 7.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm excited. Just to get the gunslinger on the big screen, obviously is good enough for me. We talked, before about, the guy they picked to play the gunslinger is not obviously who I envisioned. But that just, you never know who they're going to cast, and so we'll see how that works out. He could be great, so we'll see. But I don't know how strict they're going to follow the actual book one, or if they're going to add some other stuff in here. I don't know. Some people said this may just even be a separate series, so we'll find out, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I think that was the big thing that you and I talked about was obviously the casting, and maybe we can talk a little bit about that. Not that we don't like the cast in and of themselves, Idris Elba, great actor. He's been in lots of secondary type of roles, all the way from Thor to The Office, and he's
Wire.
Yeah, he's had some voice acting roles as well in certain movies and stuff like that, which has been great. He's just not really he's not been like the guy to carry a movie. And as is something that you and I talk about quite a bit, is that, when they cast people to be the guy or the girl, the character, can those people carry the movie? Are they the right actors to carry the movie? And one of my concerns is that this guy is not the kind of guy that's been proven anyway that he can actually carry the movie.
Well, the gunslinger, in the books, he's not a very real talkative guy. Anyways, he's this, like I said, the strong, silent type. He doesn't necessarily, so his acting is, he's not going to have like a lot of dialogue, obviously. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see with how he does.
Well, and one thing we talked about is that the gunslinger in the book is not painted as a black guy. He's painted as a white guy, right. Clint Eastwood type of kind of character, cowboy, ranger, kind of guy.
Dark hair, blue eyes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they cast him with Elba, and it's like I said, nothing against Elba as an actor who he is. He's great. It's just kind of a curveball that I'm sure people are kind of like, okay, which I think would be similar to what's the movie the that is just, I don't know if it just came out, The Ghost in the Shell or whatever, and that's it's an anime movie, right? And it's like Japanese, and the main character is Japanese, and all of a sudden it's Scarlett Johansson is the main character, and I think a lot of people are like, what? Okay, I think we just wanted to get a hot character to play so that people would say, yeah, let's give this movie a shot, which I guess it's really all up to the director, right? The director takes a story and says, I want to put my twist on the story. I want to give it my, I want to tell it my way. And that's great.
And I guess Stephen King, was okay with it too, which was to me kind of surprising. I think he even said at one point himself that, he pictured, also, Clint, years ago, probably when he thought about, even making this into a movie, that he, Clint was, would have been the perfect, character, but, Clint's a little past his prime at this point, I think, to play the gunslinger.
Right.
But,
yeah.
I was even thinking maybe his son, Scott, could have been all right.
I think there were probably a lot of guys that could have done it. They just had to be big enough to really kind of, get the general public that doesn't know the book or doesn't know the story, to get them interested in going to the theater and watching this. And that's probably, as we've said before, one of my concerns is that I'm afraid it as a movie will get lost in the mix, as just another kind of movie that no one really knows. Not no one. Most people maybe not know much about, except for the fan base, obviously, which, a movie can't really do great and amazing things with just a fan base. It has to get more than that. So
well, and I think that's why they, this first film, I think it was filmed a little bit on the lower budget side, and seeing how it'll do, and if it does well, then they will probably increase the budget for movie 2, 3, or whatever.
Yeah, which is kind of disappointing. I like the sometimes. Don't you think? I mean, isn't that disappointing?
Yeah,
because it's like either in it or you're not in it. I mean, it's like if you just kind of put out like a, throw a, grapefruit over the plate, it's like you didn't really throw your best.
I would agree with that, but I do think that the first book, the story in the first book, lends itself to be better, have a better chance of being a low budget movie, since it's just them kind of going across the desert. And but then again, I don't know how much they're going to follow that storyline. So
right.
I do like Matthew McConaughey as the Man in Black. I think he'll do a great job.
You do?
Yeah, I do. I like him. I think he'll fit that really well. I think he's a great actor. The kid, a little concerned about the kid. I think kid actors are hit and miss. A lot of times, me and my good buddy TJ Falk talked about this, and we mentioned the Anakin, played in episode 1 of Star Wars, not so good. But then you get a kid from like Sixth Sense, with Bruce Willis, was phenomenal. So they're kind of hit and miss sometimes on kids.
Yeah, and I'm afraid that they put too much of him in the trailer, in my opinion. The kid being there, it's kind of like it almost devalues the action and this seriousness basically almost of the story. I feel like, I don't know. To me, when I watched it, I was like, yes, it's cool when you see the gunslinger loading the gun and all that jazz and some of the action stuff they put in there, which is really cool. But with the kid, I just felt like it just was like, I'm not sure why he was in the trailer to be a teaser trailer for people, not just for the fan base, which is great. But for anybody else that's not in the fan base, it just kind of, I don't know, it just really wasn't a real wow factor for me personally. I'm not sure I agree with you with Matthew McConaughey. Not that I don't like Matthew McConaughey. I just don't see him as the Man in Black. And, he wasn't as, I don't know, he wasn't as mysterious. And I know this story is basically kind of taken place, correct me if I'm wrong, but like after book one almost, right? So it's like the universe of the Dark Tower exists, and like our universe is colliding with it, and it's almost like they have a history together and that kind of stuff. That you don't really, first book is not really like that. I mean, he's chasing after him, he's going after him, but you don't really know why. But
well, you can definitely tell that Hollywood is taking some liberties with this, and the trailer is so short that it's hard to gauge on how much they're changing and how much they're following. There's definitely some stuff in there that I see that follows book one, but there's a lot of stuff in there that I saw that is from later, and so they've maybe mixed some things in or just taking liberties. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Apparently, obviously they are. Got a black gunslinger, and that's a pretty big liberty right there, We'll see. I guess we'll see. Like I said, I didn't, when you first told me that they were making a movie of this, I'm like, hey, this is going to be cool. I'm kind of really thinking more along the lines of a Western, because that's how I read the book, that it is more along the lines of a Western, sci-fi Western. And this just really, in my opinion, just didn't really kind of give me that. And you can tell it is kind of a low budget kind of deal, which is like, the Hunger Games, same kind of concept, right? They didn't really put a lot of money in the Hunger Games, and all the people who read the book were like going, why did you do this? This is actually a really, really good book and a really good story. You could have like threw a lot of money into it and done it well, and it wouldn't have looked like it was, a very low budget. So I am optimistic, cautiously optimistic, but also feel like it might be bad news. I don't know, but
I hope not. But
yeah,
I don't know. We'll find out. August 4th. That's when it comes out, and I will be there day one at the IMAX. So I'll let you know.
Okay, I'll call your boss. Tell him where you're at when you call in sick.
Yeah, there you go.
It's like, hey, by the way, he's not sick. If he is, he's sick at the theater. You might want to go there and check up on him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, my pleasure. That's what I'm here for. Okay. Well, let's talk about Into the Badlands, something that you and I have both watched. I just finished watching the first full season of it. AMC brought it out immediately when I saw the trailer for it. I was like captivated. I mean, anything with martial arts and swords and stuff like that, I'm thinking,
sign me up.
Yeah, I'm here. So I just watched the first season on Netflix, and you finished the first season, I guess, last season, and you actually have watched one or two episodes of this current season, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So first thoughts, what do you think?
I like it. It's very stylized. I think the cinematography is excellent. I think it's very artistic, and its color palette, just the way they filmed it. They do a great job with just color, and all the barons are very distinct and accents and stylized. The fighting is choreographed very well. It's kind of a I don't know, would you say a Kill Bill meets Crouching tiger, hidden dragon, you know, with
yeah. Yeah,
but
definitely.
yeah, I like it. I think it's very good
Yeah.
so far.
I you know, that when you watch the first episode, you know, they kind of put you right into it right off the bat. Sonny, who's the main character, played by Daniel Wu. I've never seen this guy in anything else. Apparently, he was in Man with Iron Fist. But you know, maybe I had seen him, I just didn't know it. He's basically this regent that goes out and works for the Baron, the specific Baron he works for, and there's this like insane fight scene with him taking on like what 15 people, and it's just like you said, very very well choreographed for a TV show. And you know, I thought
And
like
brutal.
in brutal and brutal. I mean, for those of you who are listening,
Brutal.
you know, there is blood, and you will see
Uh-huh.
blood, and where these guys don't really you know like to cuss and say one or two cuss words that they're gonna get away with, like Walking Dead or whatever. But it is definitely a very brutal show and choreographed very well. It does take the liberties of these guys being able to do things that not just any human be able to do with, balancing on a real thin, railing or something, and, doing an incredible, unbelievable backflip, up 2 stories up to something, so, they do that. And I've watched Arrow and some of these other different shows that have fight scenes and stuff. And I thought Arrow's fight stuff was actually pretty good. It wasn't too bad, but this stuff just blows that stuff away. I mean, I think their fight scenes are like excellent.
Yeah, I don't know how much of what'd you say, Daniel Wu? Is that his
Yeah.
correct name? Yeah, I don't know how much of his own stunts he does, but I read somewhere in an article this guy's like in his like mid to younger 40s, and I would have pictured a early 30-year-old the way this guy's out there with all his acrobats and the
Yeah.
choreographed fight sequences. They're pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. He's definitely the top dog, big bad dude, that goes and does the Baron's dirty work and stuff like that. Which is great because, you kind of, I think most dudes want to see that, the guy that walks into 15 dudes, 20 dudes and takes them all out, and he's the only one left standing. I don't know about you, but I personally can't get enough of that kind of stuff. I love that kind of thought that this guy's surrounded by 20 dudes and he's probably going to walk away the only one alive. But they have a lot of, I mean, not just him.
And he's got the tattoos on his back to show for it.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Puts these
You can
tattoos for
expand on
every
that.
kill and stuff like that. So he's got a back full of these little marks and stuff, all his back for all the kills he's done and stuff. But in the world, there's all these barons, and it's definitely over the top, like you said. The barons all have their own distinct, insignia, colors, personalities. Almost like even some of them are matrixy, kind of a feel with
There's no like guns, I don't believe.
No.
I mean, this is like a post-apocalyptic world, and
Right.
and it's swords and knives and Chinese stars and all that kind of stuff, basically.
Yeah. Like you got one faction that's known for their swords, one faction's known for like their pickaxes, which you're like, pickaxes, who cares? But they actually make it cool. One is made, they have these like butterfly looking throwing stars. That's all they use, and they're all women. So I thought they did a really good job balancing out the different factions and stuff like that. It is a little over the top. Some of it is definitely cheesy. But for most guys, if you're wanting to just watch a show that has some like incredible martial arts choreographed fight scenes, it ain't going to get old. I mean, in my opinion. The only down for me was the guy, the kid who's playing he's kind of the hidden main character, that there's something about him that you think, I'm going to find out more about this kid. He's there from the very beginning. I'm not sure his acting is like suspect at best, in my opinion.
Yeah, but isn't it somewhat stereotypical of this kind of dorky kid that has some kind of power, and they will continue to grow his character from this point where he's a little on the lame side.
Yeah. Well, and he's definitely on the lame side. He's also a complete idiot because, if you have like this martial arts expert tell you to do something, typically you would think that you would say, yes, master, I'll do that. He's like a dorky idiot that's like, tell me why. Why do I have to? And it's like, you just want to hate this kid, and you're like, does he have to be one of the main characters? But other than that, I mean, I think into the second season now, I'm kind of over it a little bit because the other main characters, that the one chick who plays the widow, she's really good. The widow's daughter is actually really good. There's a lot of I don't know if you thought this. There's a lot of backstabbing going on in this series. I mean, from day one, it's like you don't know who to trust, who's going to trust who. I mean, it's just backstabbing like crazy, which in my opinion makes it interesting. And
I don't know how many barons they have at this point, but I think there's going to be more that are going to show up. And,
right.
There's a big feud between them all.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I thought it's so, it's for the most part well acted. Actually, there's this guy in here. I don't know if you first of all, one of your favorite dudes is in this show.
Who's that? Which one?
Stephen Lang.
Oh yes.
He plays Waldo in the. He's crippled.
Yeah.
Gosh,
I almost forgot about him.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite characters in there.
Yeah.
He is a great. Well, he was Avatar. He was in Avatar, and he's also a great voice actor.
Well, he's also in one of our favorite movies that you didn't realize until about a couple months ago.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Tombstone.
Yeah. He played.
I've shared that with other people too, and they're like, "That was him."
They're like, "No way." It's like, yeah. Well, Ike Clanton.
Ike Clanton.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why Ike? Whatever do you mean? Yeah. So he's in it, and if you like Stephen Lang, you're gonna continue to like Stephen Lang because his character is real smart alecky, and I know better than you. You're a young pup kind of a deal, which is cool. There's also a guy in it. I don't know if you recognize this guy. His name is Martin Kazakis. He plays Quinn, and Quinn is one of the main barons.
Okay.
Martin Kazakis he actually played the guy who was supposed to end up being king in Kingdom of Heaven. Remember that guy? He was like head of the kings. Oh, what are they called? The dudes that run white and they had the red crosses. Kingdom of Heaven.
It's been a while since I've seen that. It's a good show though.
Yeah, I mean most guys would say that's like a guy flick, right? Kingdom of Heaven.
Yeah,
he's a guy that does. You just, I guess he
underrated that show. That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean he plays this. He plays the Templars. He's the head of the Templars. That's what he is.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and he's just one of those guys that you just love to hate. He plays a really good bad guy, and I think in this show he does a superb job playing a guy that you just want someone to cut his head off. I mean, but knowing that he will never get killed, probably, they'll keep him on as the antagonist, villain guy that somehow ends up being a hero in times or whatever. But he does a really good job. Acting wise, I think it's a really good show. I think if you've not seen it, and you've always kind of thought about it just because that it's got martial arts and stuff like that. The whole first season is on Netflix. You can sit there like I did and binge it in like 3 days. And
it's a short season. First season, I think is
6 or 7 episodes, something like that. Yeah, so it's pretty short.
You don't have to invest too much time in it.
No. And maybe behind the ball with the second season, but it's definitely, I thought it was a really good show. It was one of those shows, like I said, for me, it was on the dude radar of like, this looks like a guy, movie, or I'm sorry, a guy show. It's something that probably my wife would not sit down and watch with me. Probably wouldn't have a lot of patience. Yeah. As we've talked about before, I'm surprised my wife sits down and watches, Walking Dead, for crying out loud. I never in my wildest dreams thought my wife would get into a zombie show.
Yeah, you better keep a hold of her.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. I'm a lucky dude. So it's definitely probably not something your wives would want to sit down with you with, but just a guy show for you to kind of get away and like get
My
into
wife
something.
likes it too.
Does
actually.
she? Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
maybe not as much as me, but
Yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a thumbs up for me. Thumbs up for you.
thumbs up.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Cool. Well, that's the end of this podcast here. Just wanted to do a real quick one. Something that we're going to do with the Batman Cave podcast is not just talk about video games all the time. We are going to talk about movies because that's something that both Jason and I and some of our friends love to talk about. And we think it's relevant to guy listeners out there too, about maybe stuff like, this show, Into the Badlands, that you didn't really see, haven't seen, and thought, man, I wonder what it's about. This podcast is be able to hopefully shed some light on stuff like that, on issues like that, of stuff that we're interested in. Hopefully you're interested in as well. So we appreciate your time for stopping by. See you later.